How I Became a Ghost, Chapter 27, Wagon of the Bone Pickers. The soldiers continued their search, burning blankets and questioning Choctaws at every camp. By noon, they arrived at the wagon of the bone pickers, the final stop. I stepped through the walls of the trunk to warn Naomi. They are here, I whispered. Did they hurt my family? She asked. No, your family is safe, but the leader is furious. He wants to hurt you. Whatever happens, don't make a sound. I am ready for this day to be over, she said. My body is stiff from lying here so long. You won't have to wait long, I said. The words had barely left my lips when the soldiers stormed into the camp. I waited for Leader to bark his orders. I heard the horses shuffling around the wagon, but Leader was silent. I lifted myself from the trunk and floated through the wagon. Leader waved his arms and motioned the soldiers to dismount. The bone pickers huddled together in the wagon. Where is everyone? Roundman asked. The leader stared hard at him, moving his finger to the lips for silence. He stepped to the wagon and flung the curtain aside. Come out now, he yelled. No one moved. Get out of the wagon. The bone pickers, one by one, climbed out of the wagon. They were old and moved so slowly, stepping down with feeble, unsure legs. The leader grew impatient. Move, he shouted. The oldest bone picker was the last to leave. Her legs were so short, her feet dangled in the air, searching for a safe place to step. Leader grabbed her by the arm and threw her to the ground. A soldier moved to help her. Leave her alone, Leader said. His chest was heaving back and forth. Someone will die today, he said in a mean, low voice, staring hard at the soldier. It might be you. The soldier froze. They looked at the old woman lying at their feet. I felt the warm shiver washing over me, and I closed my eyes. When I opened them, I was surrounded by dozens of older Nahalo women. They are spirit people, I thought. Ghosts. They are the grandmothers and the mothers and the aunts of the soldiers. The women wrapped their arms around the soldiers and through their arms floated through the air, touching nothing. They smiled and talked among themselves. They were overjoyed to see their young men. So the soldiers could not see the ghost women, but their memories were strong. I could see it in their faces. They winced as they stared at the fallen bone picker. What if that was my mother? They seemed to be thinking. They looked at Leader and saw for the first time the cruel man they were bound to by law to follow. Leader shouted at the bone picker standing before him. Where is she? You were hiding the girl. I know it. Speak to me. The bone pickers finally moved to help their fallen friend. They are frail, but they are brave, I thought. Leave her alone, Leader yelled. The bone pickers ignored him, and he grew madder still. Drag everything from the wagon, he said. Two soldiers stepped forward and entered the wagon. I floated in beside them. There's blood everywhere, the soldier said. Nothing here but an old trunk. Open it, Leader said, leaning into the wagon. The soldier lifted the lid and stepped back in horror. The trunk is full of old bones, the soldier said. They are covered in blood. Leader turned to the bone pickers. What are you hiding? The bone pickers huddled together and spoke not a word. Nothing Leader did or said meant anything to them. I don't think they understand English, said Roundman. Maybe they will understand this, Leader replied. He stepped to the campfire, picked up a burning log, and handed it to Roundman. Burn the wagon, he said in a quiet voice. No, I thought. Naomi is still inside. Please help her, Nita whispered in my ear. I entered the wagon and tried to lift the lid, but my hands passed through the trunk. Roundman tossed the burning log into the wagon, and the dry wood and the cloth caught fire, and the wagon burst into flames. From his hiding place in the cedar trees, Joseph saw everything. He leapt from the low-hanging branch and landed near the wagon. Grab him, Leader shouted. The soldier tackled Joseph and wrestled him to the ground. Well, said the leader, we thought the panther killed you. Joseph said nothing. Flames shot into the sky, and soon the wagon was a tower of fire. Scorching heat crackled in the air. The soldiers covered their faces and stepped back. Joseph realized that the soldier was loosening his grip just enough. Joseph wiggled free and dashed into the wagon. He leapt through the burning curtain as the soldier grabbed his legs. Let him go, said Leader. My prophecy comes true. Let him burn. Nita and I entered the smoke-filled wagon. Flames crept up the walls of the trunk. Joseph flung open the lid and tossed the bones aside. He lifted the false door and pulled Naomi to her feet. She was covered in blood and looked more dead than alive. We are here for you, Joseph said. Naomi shook with fear, but her face looked strong. Somehow I knew she would live through this day. They are watching the rear of the wagon, Joseph yelled over the sound of the crackling flames. We'll have to jump through the cloth wall. He ripped a piece of burning wood from the floor and held it to the cloth. The flames ignited, and they waited for the circle of fire to grow. Naomi slapped the embers from her hair and her clothes. They are waiting too long, I said. They will burn to death. No, said Nita. They know what they are doing. As the roof of the wagon collapsed in a mound of flames, Joseph took Naomi by the hand and they jumped from the wagon. By the time they were spotted, they were almost to the river. After them, Leader yelled, but his voice drowned out by the sound of the wagon crashing. All eyes remained on the burning wagon, and the bone pickers huddled together quietly and unafraid of death. While the soldiers watched, the women kicked aside the still burning boards, searching for any remaining bones. Leader jumped on his horse and rode after Joseph and Naomi. They dashed to the river, the leader close behind. It looked like he could catch them, but his horse slipped on a rock overhang, and the leader jerked the reins. His horse bucked and sent Leader flying from the saddle. His head struck hard against the rock. Blood gushed from the gash on his forehead, and he scrambled to his feet. They're safe for now, Nita said. I knew that they could outrun him. Leader was staggering. He grabbed a tree trunk to steady himself, and suddenly Naomi stopped. Run, said Joseph. Follow me. I know a place to hide. Naomi shook her head and pointed to the dark cavern beneath the rock. I followed her gaze and froze in terror at what I saw. I closed my eyes, hoping this was all a ghost vision, a terrible vision that would go away. Please don't let this happen, I thought.